Paul Catalina. BYU comes into town. One of the things that Dave Aranda said on Monday of last week was that he wanted to see the team start fast. He wanted to see energy on the sideline and whatever else. I'm almost tired of listening. And I know a lot of fans are. And, oh, by the way, there's a lot of fans that did not go to the game on Saturday because that's the way it seemed like some fan bases, okay, we're not going to go. We're pissed off. We're not going to go. But 28-7, 21-0, that game was over even though it wasn't. It was like Georgia, Alabama, but I'm not comparing the talent, although BYU's top 20. My God, that was disgusting on Saturday for about 2.5 quarters.
Well, look, the issue isn't that. Look, they it reminded me of UCF with the bad result last year. UCF they fell way behind. Now that game was on the road, but you can't keep falling behind in these games like this where you're clawing back out. Particularly not at home where you're supposed to have some sort of advantage, which they haven't. 3-8 the last 2 years at home. Those 3 wins are Long Island, Air Force, and Tarleton. So they should be beating those teams at home. They're not winning conference games at home. They keep falling behind, or when they are ahead, they can't close things out. Colorado's not the first instance of that. It was the most maybe spectacular instance of it, but this is not something new to this team over the last couple of seasons. Even going back into the latter part of 2022, they've got real problems that they have not solved yet, and I don't know if he has much of the fan base left to support him, and so it puts the athletic department in a position where they have to either find an excuse why they have to soldier through, or they have to make a coaching change. Neither one is acceptable to either side at this point, and so you're going to have a bit of a stalemate for a while on people's enthusiasm with the football program. And that this week they go up to Ames, where they're going to be a 13-point dog, in a place that even when they've been great, they don't play well.
That game in Ames could have been 27-3, or something that would not surprise me at all the way they played defense. Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot to say on it. I won't say everything that's on my mind, but I'm just tired of it, man. And I know everybody else is, of just walking away from every game with some new level of disappointment and heartbreak. And not so much heartbreak for me. I'm not a fan of Baylor like that, but I am a fan of the players. I'm a fan of, obviously as somebody who covers them, I want to see them do well. When they're doing well, it's more fun to talk about them. It's more fun to cover them. And it hasn't been fun to talk about them or cover them for going on nearly 2 years now. It's mind-boggling how you start off that way, giving yourself a 21-0 deficit just right out of the gates. And I know, hey, give BYU credit, their scripted drive. That's how that goes sometimes. You give up a scripted drive. Okay, fine. That's fine. But you turn right around, you throw an interception on the very first pass. It's a batted ball, but, that's somebody's fault right there. Okay? Place the blame wherever you want to. But bottom line is it happened, and then they turn right around, they score again. And then you come back on offense, and you do nothing, and they score again, and it's 21-0. It's less than 10 effing minutes into this game. Of this game where it's obvious half the crowd's already checked out. I was walking up, and I'm like, man, it seems kind of quiet today. Wonder what that means. And the damnedest thing of it is how dare you revolt after the Colorado loss? I know that there was some coaching malpractice maybe. There was definitely some lack of player execution, which I don't think no-showing really supports them in any way. But that wasn't that wasn't, as much as that was heartbreaking, I don't know if that's the game that you protest after, because they left it all out there and got to overtime. And, yeah, a fumble here and a drop there. I get it, but I didn't feel like that was the game that you go, all right, we're out. Because do that when you, BYU's up 21-0 and kicks your ass like that. That to me that didn't sit well with me, but I understood it. I understood where people were coming from, because it didn't matter the style of which the game that went. It was just simply another loss, and another close loss, and another painful loss. And so I understood, but I was really, really disappointed in that. Because I feel like if you're going to make a statement, that wasn't necessarily the game, as emotional as that was, to make it right after, being back at home. But nevertheless, I don't fault anybody for that. It's just I thought that was not necessarily the right choice or the right timing. But you walk in, it's half full. Half of the half is BYU, basically. And it was just a total S show from the very beginning and for the first portion of that football game. And then by the end, it's like they get your hopes up. get within 6, and have multiple drives to take the lead and can't do it.
They've been going up and down the field
They're
in the
the
second
biggest
half. Yep.
teases in all of college football, man, and they always leave you unsatisfied. And it's just tiresome, and it's just not fun. And I, am
And
here
you're not
because
even a fan. You're just covering.
I'm just covering the team.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going like, you know what my thought was leaving that game on Saturday? Thank God they're going on the road for the next month so that we don't have to come in here and sit and watch them find the new way to lose at home. I mean, that was honestly one of my thoughts, because if it's not some FCS school, they're probably losing.
Yeah.
And especially at home.
Yeah.
And so that's just where you're already programmed of like, oh, ranked team, they're not winning that game. Anybody left on the schedule not named Houston, probably not winning that game. And you know what?
Who beat them last year?
It's deserved.
Yep.
I mean, you've dug your own hole. You don't win close games. You have no clutch genes. You cannot finish, and you cannot start. And you didn't do either one against BYU, and that's what's going to get Dave Aranda fired, if anything. It's not fans are impatient or whatever. We've been all, media, fans, whoever, plenty patient at this point. 2021, guys, was 3 years ago.
Yep.
Nothing really all that great's happened since then. Now, I think the 6 and 7 gets poo-pooed on a little bit too much. Like, they did make the bowl. That gets tainted by the bowl game and how awful that bowl game against Air Force was. But since then, it's been nothing but bad. No big wins. No big wins. No big home wins. Nothing of substance. And everybody else around you is at least getting a little something here and there just to satisfy their taste buds. And you're giving your fans rice cakes over and over again, and then wondering why they're complaining about how awful the food is and how hungry they are. You know what I mean? Like, it's what you're feeding them, and what you're feeding them has been bad for going on for far too long now, and this is not a good spot for them to be in.
They ended up with losing by the game that like set off the fire was the Kansas State game at home in 2022 when they were 6-3 with wins at Texas Tech, at Texas Tech, at Oklahoma, and Kansas State beat their ass 31-3. Then they, of course, lost to TCU and then lost to Texas to close out the year. Now,
and not only are they not clutch, but their losses are excruciating. Like the number of
at least
agonizing
they're not boring
losses
anymore.
Huh?
They're not boring losses anymore.
No, please. I mean, I said this against Colorado. I'd rather get beat by 4 touchdowns than lose like they did to Colorado. And I know plenty of people will disagree with that. I'm serious. I still say that all these days later. I don't know how it was any better that you lost at the end as opposed to getting blown out. Getting blown out at least would make the decisions a lot easier, you would think.
We will hear a comment or two. Craig, thank you very much. Pretty much just let you go.
Well, I got a lot more I can say, but I know we got
we
other
don't
stuff
have
to talk
time
about.
because we have to get to our pod, which they're not a part of this. But we will hear a comment from Caleb Parker from after the game and a couple of notes from what Aranda said today in his Monday media session.
Can I say one thing, though? Please. For all of the talk about, like, let's fire Aranda and replace him, but that is absolutely nothing right now. It does absolutely no good. There's no coach you're going to go hire that's going to be here in a couple of weeks and get started on recruiting. Like, this isn't that situation. But if you're going to throw names out, don't throw out the guy that just blew a lead early in the game and has now lost his last 2. Everybody wants to – G.J. Kinney, he's young and he's exciting. Have you looked at what Texas State's done the last couple of weeks?
That's all about how they play football in the
No, I know.
Side.
It's all
they
about
have that guy who can do that, M. Spavital.
No, it's all about people wanting to relive the Bryles years going on a decade and like just give us something fun and exciting. And I understand that, but yeah, like if you're gonna throw that out there, like let's have some other options as well. And that's the only one that I've really heard. But like the time is not great for that, is my point, because they've lost their last 2 games and they just blew a massive lead in the first half this past week. But I get it, he's the up and comer. He makes a lot of sense.
If Dave Aranda is not back next year, and if they don't have legitimate discussions with Jeff Traylor, not because he's a friend of the show and I've known him for 30 years, then that just doesn't make any sense. But Barry Odom at UNLV, but I don't want to take anything away from UNLV. Mac, remember, he was at Missouri. So there's a lot of names out there. By the way, I had a Baylor assistant coach, and we don't have access to them. We don't do one-on-ones with Dave Aranda anymore, and honestly, really since about mid-last year, that might be a good thing. Very frustrated, optimistic. The coach has actually done a great job building a good culture, no matter what people may think. We still feel positive about where the locker room is and our staff. Everyone is in good spirits, ready to get back to work. Of course, now they play Iowa State in Ames on Saturday. When we come back, we'll do the pod.